Welcome to this responsible camping bylaw hearing and deliberations. I'm Chris Hill, I'm the chair for today. And on the panel, we also have Councillor Walker and Councillor Kinnamont's due to come in on Zoom. They're not there now. We do 2 as a quorum, so we can make a beginning. And just to note that the meeting is being recorded and will appear on our YouTube channel. The media are present. Catherine Hubbard's on Zoom, so what you say might end up in the paper. Some people get surprised by that, but it might be something you hope for or not. But just to know that it is a public event. And for those that may need it, there's hearing assistance hardware is available in the public seating area. Apologies. We've got an apology from Councillor Celia Butler, who is unwell. Somebody's happy to are you happy to move the apology, and I'll second it and put the resolution. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried. We've got We've got 5 people on the schedule of speakers who would like to speak to their submissions. And you have 5 minutes each, and Kelsey will give a ring on the bell at 4.5 minutes just to give you a pacing of where you are. And the order is first is David Melville, then Dave Richards, Rohan Haskell, Leo Byatt, and then Matthias Schaffner. So, David, if you're ready to get underway, just come up to the table and pull the microphone towards you, please, just so it's nearer you, and press the wee button on the bottom. And just to acknowledge that Councillor Kinnamont's now just joined the meeting on Zoom. We're just starting with the first speaker, Mike. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this afternoon. I'm here on behalf of the Ornithological Society of New Zealand, and we're very pleased to note that staff are recommending that both the Taupata Point and Staple Street be included in Schedule 1 as prohibited areas for camping. Such a designation supports Objective 1, First Priority Action 2 of the Tasman Biodiversity Strategy that Council adopted on the 18th of August 2022. I'd just like to make a couple of comments regarding the Freedom Camping Site Assessment report, which is included in today's papers, and particularly if you're have it online, or pages 81 and 82 on the agenda report. The assessment column wording for Taupata Point is, to my reading, slightly unclear. And I wonder whether it might be easier to use the same wording as for the Staple Street on the following page, on page 82, which would mean that the assessment will be worded as prohibit due to the significant conservation values and to protect access to the area. I think that's what the current wording for Taupata is trying to convey, but it's sort of a bit more jumbled. And basically, at least from an ornithological perspective, the values of the 2 sites are similar, so having similar wording would be probably appropriate. And just to note that on the Staple Street text as currently presented, there seems to be a typographical error that conservations with an S on the end of it probably should be conservation. Finally, the proposed prohibited area at Staple Street, which is shown in map 1.16 on page 59 of the agenda paper, shows an undesignated area between the 2 prohibited areas. This is understandable because it's the dock reserve land, not TDC land, but it does potentially convey or could it convey the impression that camping's allowed in that middle area, but not either side of it. And I'd just like to highlight that probably it will be useful to have appropriate signage on site in due course, assuming that the council agrees to Staple Street being prohibited, to make it clear that the whole of that area is not for camping. And I'd note that there is TDC signage there, although somewhat lying against a fence line rather than particularly well presented, which does convey that message at the moment. Thank you very much. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, David. Do you have anything, Councillor Walker? Councillor Kinnemons, do you have any questions for David?
No, and I appreciate him coming in and doing his presentation today.
Yes, and I concur. Thank you. The submission that your organisation puts together, the submissions you put together are really valuable, and certainly we take great note of them. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you. David Richards. Welcome. You just press the bottom button there. Does it come on red? Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. My name is David Richards. I'm a farmer on the northwest coast, Patarau, Anatori area. Family farmed there for many years. We've really noticed a large increase in numbers of campers in our area, and pretty considerable pressure on the resources out there. Often creating quite a bit of rubbish and effluent, because a lot of them aren't self-contained. They're only there's only 2 toilets on the Anatori area, nothing to Patarau, nothing to Turimuewi. So there's a lot of campers there that can create quite a bit of mess. They often have large fires, and there's been a lot of glass burnt in fires and discarded there as well. So I'm just very concerned about the changes that's happened over the last few years. I've expressed this to I think to you, Chris. I've communicated to you by email, and with Shane and David Bayliss as well in Golden Bay area over the last many months. There's been some signs put up restricting the number of days that people have been camping there, but some of those have been removed. And my private signs have been removed, and at times and even burnt. There have been some signs burnt. So there are some pretty irresponsible campers on that coast, and most of them are very good. And Dave Howard and Brett Hart and I are the major landowners on that coastline. We've talked about it, and we are quite happy for people to camp there on our riparian areas, like private areas as well as the TDC areas. But we certainly want some limits to the number of days that people can camp there, and that needs to be enforced, because it gets very busy out there on that coastline. So that's really where you've obviously read my submissions. There's more than that, but that I just thought I'd just emphasise those comments anyway. Yeah.
Thanks, David. I was going to ask if people are actually on your land and on private land out there, and I guess they don't know, do they? People.
No, it's not. It's probably not clear where private land starts and finishes. TDC private land. It's on the river margins. It's not easy for people to know. It's not easy to actually put signage there either, because the floods take things away. It's not an easy environment.
Do you think if non-self-contained vehicles are prohibited, that people can go out there in a self-contained vehicle? Do you think if non-self-contained vehicles are taken away, that would improve the situation?
Oh, it would.
Yeah.
particularly at the Parao, that's private land on the mouth of the Parao River. It's owned by Peter Hall and Rita. And there's no facilities there at all. It's definitely, those sort of areas need to be self-contained only, because there's effluent been all over the place there.
And they camp out on that bit of land?
Yes, they do. Yeah, lots of people.
Do you know if Peter and Rita allow it? Or?
Yes, they do. They do allow it. They've got their own signs up saying, bury your stuff and whatever. But it doesn't always happen. And they're very lenient, and we all really are.
Yeah.
We actually we don't mind people camping, but it's they've got to have some rules.
Yeah. And you think the main rule that would be helpful would be the limitation on containment, but also the number of nights?
Yes, definitely, yes.
Yeah.
Because there are, especially in Anatory, there are been some times in the last year or two that where one or two individuals have stayed there for months.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not on.
No. And do you think there's a difference? Is that there's that Golden Bay families have camped out there for generations, haven't they? Head out there for the long weekends, and is this a different sort of crowd that you're talking about?
Yes, it is. It's just actually a different group. Yeah. There are many that used to come back, every year, and they're pretty reliable sort of people, and but there are some pretty rough ones too. Like I've had things burnt, signs burnt, my no camping signs burnt. Taking some stuff stolen as well. So, yeah.
Thank you.
It's like different rules out there. Like because we're as far away as you can get from here. It's the end of the road. Tirrawui is the end of the road.
Literally.
And so it's a different law out there. I keep saying to people, it's what happens. It's very hard for us to actually be there all the time to do that. To maintain that standard.
Yeah, and a long way for our ranger over there.
And David's been very good. I've talked to David and Shane, and they're very cooperative. I've had good responses from them, and we're talking, all the time. So.
Yeah. Councillor Walker's got a question, I think, and Councillor Kinnan wants to.
Thank you, through Chair. Thank you very much for your presentation. It's very gracious that you and the local other farmers allow camping on your riparian areas. I guess my question is, what does that look like for enforcement if it's your land open to whomsoever comes along, and how do you see us regulating that they're self-contained, and B, how many nights?
I know it's really up to us to enforce that, I suppose. And say whether they can, if it's on our land. Invariably, hardly ever we would ever turn anybody, or if somebody came to us asked whether they could camp there, they could camp there. We always allow them, always do. But if they don't play by the rules and don't clean up and do the things, well, it's where we change our attitude completely to those people, and it's happened a few times. Yeah. So I don't really expect the TEC to actually, those rules to actually apply to probably our private land. I can't see how you could really.
No.
Is that right or not?
No, I mean, no, we can't. If you invite people to come and camp on your place, but then other rules kick in. Councillor Kinmont, you've got a question?
I did, but I withdrew it through you, Madam Chairman. I was going to compliment Mr. Richards on his attitude towards the public, and also the voluntary work that he does there for us. So I know he does it for his own land, but also on our behalf too. So I read your submission, and thank you very much, Mr. Richards.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And it is tricky, and some of the, it's not clear whose land is what. Yes. And including your own land, DOC, council, and probably some LINZ bits out there as well. I imagine getting a nod from Shannon, but road reserve. So it is complicated, and we're doing what we can to try and help. Yeah. No. You see my views, and I think I've got more detail in my submission that you could read it. Thank you, and thanks for coming in today.
Thank you.
Rohan? Welcome.
Welcome. Good evening. Yeah, my name is Rohan Haskell. I'm actually here speaking on behalf of Ashley Levine, who is the owner of the Top 10 Holiday Park in Motueka. Unfortunately, she was away overseas for this, so I've jumped in with some notes of hers and had a look at her submission to have a bit of a talk to. I know you guys see them, and there's 58 of them, so I probably can't remember all of them. So I'll go over the main points around them. She was opposing to Dix Reserve and also Staple Street. The Dix Reserve one has obviously been a freedom camping spot previously and currently is, and has been noted around safety, cleanliness, behaviour, and also the upgrade that the council put in there a year ago of about $600,000 towards a family-friendly, accessible playground doesn't sit well with the after hours or after school use of the freedom camping area. I've been there many evenings with some people in this room and watched unruly behaviour and dishes being washed in toilets, and have gone into toilets and watched gentlemen wash themselves in their hand basins on multiple occasions. So to ask that to be a family-friendly location is not a safe space for the community. So that's around Dix Reserve. The big part for Ashley was opposing Staple Street. It's not a current freedom camping location. It's not set up to be one. The infrastructure is not in place for it. It is a gravel road. It's got potholes. I've seen vehicles stuck on the mud on the side of the road. The road itself is probably close to being not wide enough legally anyway, and unsafe to walk on at times in the corners. It is part of the Great Taste Trail, and that road is asked for bikers to be in the area to be safe and to use it for walking locations. To be asking camper vans and or self-contained vehicles to be going down that and turning and back and forward is not a safe roading location. It's also one of the areas that, as a local to Motueka myself, that is where we send people, where we send tourists, where we send friends, family. It's where we take the dogs for walks in the evenings. It's where you take kids to go to the beach, to go into the sand spit, etc., etc. And I know freedom camping has all the best intentions, and self-contained has all the best intention of being self-contained. But at any freedom camping location that I've been at, rubbish is always an issue. Toileting is always an issue. And safety in the evenings and for runners, walkers, people that are trying to stay fit is a big problem that we will see for that location. Another point that want to be made out is those two locations being put forward within 1.5 kilometres of the only commercial campground in Motueka, which is the Top 10 Holiday Park. So to have two freedom locations within 1.5 kilometres of a commercial business, which is directly competing with that business, and a business that employs locals, uses local services, uses local products, and supports local other local businesses alongside it, is a huge detriment to the business. If you count up how many locations could be filled by the freedom camping, it could be up to $3,000 a night of lost revenue for that holiday park, which I and actually personally believe that the council should be supporting the local community rather than supporting the travellers that are coming to the region as much. Another point to raise with that proximity and or revenue loss is that holiday park is actually owned and by TDC, the land and the buildings, and they get a large percentage of revenue from any income made by the holiday park itself. So in a time where, if you talk to any council worker, money is tight, to be offering free stuff for travellers to take away from commercial local community businesses that also the council makes money off in return for that as the landowner, just doesn't seem like it makes sense. is there any questions at all?
Thank you. Your points have been well articulated. Councillor Walker.
Thank you, through Chair. Thank you for coming and speaking on behalf of Ashley. I guess the question I would have for her, which hopefully you may have already bantered around, is around, so would you support a reduction in the spots at Dix Reserve? I get that you don't support Staple Street, period. And I get the reasons behind that and mindful of the accidents that happen on that bit of road as it is for our locals. So, but do you support a reduction in Dix?
Yes. So Dix Reserve is already one, and a reduction in Dix Reserve, absolutely. I think the biggest point around Dix Reserve, if it was to stay, is around enforcement. I know it's designed to be self-contained, etc., and things, but enforcement there is important. And I'm not just talking about enforcement once a night at 5 o'clock in the afternoon before they knock off for work. I'm talking about 10 o'clock at night when there is people doing antisocial behaviour, I should say, and not safe for anyone to be walking through that location after hours as the main public toilets for the local township.
Councillor Kinnemans, do you have anything? Rohan?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. If you're going to do away with Dix Reserve and Staple Street, where else could all these people go apart from what has already been identified? Or are you going to think you're pushing them into just the existing areas, not providing more areas for them? Is that what you're suggesting?
My suggestion would be that we would be wanting to support the local businesses, and as Ashley is a owner of a holiday park that can look after self-contained and or not self-contained vehicles that would have space for them to go to, that would be our suggestion, is actually they look to put back into the local economy and local community, which increases jobs, increases services, increases everything else that gets used within our township.
Okay, thank you, Rohan. That's excellent. So what you're saying is that you don't see the need for additional holiday parks, reserves set aside for them, but you'd rather see them use the top 10 holiday park. So does that mean some of the areas like George Key and other ones in Motueka, you would like to see them reduced?
No, don't really want to see them reduced. I guess I'm trying to speak to Ashley's submission, which is only here to sort of oppose the Dix Reserve and Staple Street. She hasn't written much towards the other sites, so I don't really want to speak out of turn on her behalf for other sites. As someone that's been involved in tourism for 20 plus years myself, I understand the need for from freedom camping. And I understand the benefits for it. So it's not about doing away with them altogether. It's about understanding the right locations and the appropriateness of them and making sure that the infrastructure is in place for it. And also the enforcement around the rules are actually enforced and not just on paper.
Very well spoken. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I have nothing further. The submission's pretty clear to me, and I appreciate you coming in and speaking to it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Leo. Do you want to set up your model now at the beginning?
Thank you. And I will table my submission so the
Thank you. So, Councillor Kinnemans, Leo's setting up a model on the table that you might be able to see from there when he's completed. Thank you.
I think I'm on, am I?
You're on. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. My name's Leo Byatt, and I would wish to make a quick look at the submissions that I've made. I think I will try to go right to my model, and I'll leave everything else for the councillors to read. So in the notes, you will be going to 21, which is on page 4. Councillor Hill, you did say you were going to come closer.
I don't know if you can if you can see from on Zoom, Councillor Kinnemont. Can you see on the table here?
Thank you. I can see they're not large, but I think I can understand where Mr. Bratt is talking about.
Leo's going to give us a demonstration.
Those are 4 car parks. Roughly, they're about 5 by 2.2, 2.7. If you put a motorhome, which is 10 metres by 2.5 on them, I'm going to say if you put them down the middle, it's probably the safest place for a motorhome. And by being in the middle, you can then drive in and out. There's only 2 or 3 in Tasman. There's only 2 or 3 places where car parks are being used as freedom camping places. And once you turn that into a caravan, and then you get your Dodge Ram and put it in the front, notice how much longer it becomes. So the Dodge Ram has to be parked somewhere.
This is about the scale, you reckon?
I reckon they're about the scale of things.
Yeah.
Which is the other thing is, till now, most of the problems are with, can we say, high ace vans and sleeper vans? That's what a lot of people are making comments about. And they fit onto a single car park. The other thing is, I believe Nelson Freedom Camping Act has allowed a vehicle to overhang into the back of the space. So that is basically what I want to say.
Thank you. Are you finding that in the freedom camping areas where car parks are used, that there are bigger motorhomes turning up there? Is that?
There are. I mean, I'm using a 6-metre motorhome. Some of the others are using slightly bigger, 7, 8 metres. And I even have the same problem moving into the council car parks. So, yeah, as to be a shopper, I mean, I'm spending between 200 and 300. Well, no, probably about 100 to about 250 a week in the area when I come up and visit.
Yeah.
So that is an issue that I see that could be looked at.
Thank you. And
the other thing I want to say is the homeless thing can't be added because the way the act has been worded.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Yeah. I think Councillor Kinnemont's got a question. That's very helpful. You've got a question, Councillor Kinnemont?
Yeah, I have. That's all right. I missed the first little bit. So the 4 bits of paper on the table there are standard car park sizes for a car.
Yes, sir. Where's this? Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, that's what I've got. I can see what's happening. So, in my mind, a standard vehicle car park is insufficient for people to to operate a freedom camping van by walking around it, lifting up the boots, opening the side doors. Then I would suggest you probably need a much larger size so that people can move around their van. Would you agree with that?
We've got two things. One is the high ace van and the sleeper, which will fit in, but the standard motorhome that most New Zealanders use are from 6 metres to about 10 metres long and about 2.5 wide. I'm suggesting if they are allowed to use 4 car parks, it's a very cheap solution. Then you don't have other people doing other things with the cars. Sorry, back to you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks very much. And you've made quite a number of other points, which we've noted, of course, in reading through your submission. And thank you for these extra notes that you've presented today. Oh, Councillor Walker.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Just a quick question of you. Thank you for your demonstration. So you're proposing that what was 4 parks would then become 1 park. Do you then believe that we need more spaces that are bigger to suit your bigger motorhomes, or do you propose to have less?
First, more spaces if possible. The motorhomes are getting larger, and by being in the larger format, the motorhomes can have self-contained space to do toilet and showers, which the smaller camper vans struggle to put in.
Thank you. I think that's it from us. Appreciate your submission and you taking the time to come in. Thank you.
Through you,
And final speaker. Oh, yes.
Through you, Madam Chair, could I ask for an email copy of what's been handed out today by Leo?
Yes, that'll be sent around. Oh, it'll go on the minutes attachments. Matthias Schaffner. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. For the consultation of this new bylaw, there was a lot of material and also referencing the old freedom camping bylaw. So I had a look what changed, what was the scope and so on, because I wasn't here in the region when it was adopted in 2017. And there was one issue that kind of draw my attention to, and I like to mention this here today. So the previous freedom camping bylaw came into force in December 2017, and there's a statutory time frame of 5 years to review every bylaw. And in the last environment and regulatory meeting, it was confirmed that this bylaw was not reviewed, and that's why we need a new bylaw now. But under Section 13.6 of the Freedom Camping Act, it provides that a bylaw is automatically revoked 2 years after this 5-year time frame, if no review happened, like in this case. So if we do now a little bit of math, and it was adopted in 2017, if we do +5 to the 2017, that's 2022, and then you have another 2 years after which it gets automatically revoked. That would be December 2024, if I'm correct. That's 7 years after the adoption in 2017. So the previous bylaw was automatically revoked by statute in December last year. So the problem I found out that after that, there were a lot of infringement fines issued for breaches of this bylaw, around $10,000 that the council collected. And I don't see the legal basis for this when the bylaw was already revoked and the council collected roughly $10,000 from people breaching this bylaw, which was no longer in place. So what I'm just asking here, before we spend a lot of time for the new bylaw and put it in place, maybe we should properly wrap up the old bylaw and specifically give the money back to the people that paid for something they shouldn't paid because the bylaw was no longer in place after precisely, I think, the 17th of December 2024. And I attached to my written submission the list of, you probably have seen it, when the infringement fines were issued and the amount, yes. And it was redacted. So the names are not public, but I guess the council has all the contact details for these people and we can give them the money back. I think this would be in the interest of fairness. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Nothing from me. Councillor Walker.
Thank you through Chair. Thank you for your submission. I hear what you're saying. I guess my question moving forward is, I mean, that's a challenge that council staff will have to look at, whether it was right or wrong to cover that period while there was no active bylaw. My question to you is, what do you think of the new bylaw, and are there areas in there that shouldn't be or should be, in your opinion, or behalf of Tasman democracy?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have no strong opinion on the areas. That's not the focus of our group to advocate for specific areas. We have a different focus. We look at statute, at timeframes, at provisions. That's our focus. What we do, in terms of, so I have no strong opinion. More areas, less areas. We have a different focus, and that's what I made clear in my submissions and also in other consultations. You probably noticed this, that we have a slightly different focus than other groups. And then this was the reason why we set up this group, because we have a lot of groups in the Tasman area, a lot of community groups, but I haven't seen any group that's specified on this kind of what we are doing, looking at legislation, timeframes, how provision fit together. So yeah. So to your comment, no strong opinion on this. Thank you.
That's all. Councillor Kinnermoth, do you have any questions?
No.
Thank you, and I'll raise this, of course, in deliberations with staff and seek their interpretation.
Yes, and if I can get an email back or something, this would be appreciated. Well, what the outcome is from staff or so, if they can tell me I was wrong or the council was wrong, that we have a...
I think we have a process where submitters do receive I'm looking at Amy and Dwayne. Submitters receive a response, don't they, in terms of...
That's correct, yeah, that's the bylaws are made.
Okay.
In specific, so the points raised by Mr. Schaffner will be responded to. Yeah, great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
That's all our speakers for today, which brings us to the report. Amy, welcome.
Tēnā koutou. E tēnei ahiahi, good afternoon, and thank you, panel, for your engagement and attendance today. So the Responsible Camping Bylaw will help the council to manage freedom camping issues in the district and strengthen the council's regulatory enforcement powers. Without a bylaw, the national default position prevails. So self-contained vehicles and tents and temporary structures would be permitted in local authority areas. This bylaw identifies the local authority areas where freedom camping is prohibited or restricted and any restrictions that apply. It gives council officers the ability to issue infringement fines when the bylaw rules are not followed. Consultation for the draft bylaw ran from 6th of June to 14th of July with an extra week. We received 58 submissions, 36 location-based comments via Shape Tasman, and 116 votes for the poll regarding weekend camping at Dexter Reserve. There were no late submissions. There was general support for regulating freedom camping through a bylaw, particularly to specify where vehicles can and cannot park overnight to protect local amenities, public health and safety, wildlife and the environment. Many submitters made comments or suggestions on specific provisions or sites or areas. And other key themes we heard were requests for increased monitoring and enforcement, improved signage and communication, the importance of providing sufficient facilities, and the impact of freedom camping on commercial accommodation providers. Some submitters considered the bylaw too lenient and requested further restrictions or prohibitions, while other submitters wanted less regulation of freedom camping. The role of the panel today is to consider the views of submitters from this hearing and from the written submissions, deliberate and decide on any changes to be made to the bylaw, and decide whether to recommend to Council that the bylaw is adopted. Section 6 of the report summarises the submissions by theme and recommended changes with staff advice. Attachment 2 to the agenda report is an overview of the submissions to assist with your deliberations today, and attachment 3 is the proposed changes to the bylaw with rationale. These changes are also tracked into a consultation copy of the bylaw, which is attachment 4 to the report. Staff are recommending 3 further sites are added to Schedule 1 as prohibited areas for freedom camping, based on submitter feedback and supported by site assessments against the criteria in the Act. Further consultation is not required for these changes. Before making a bylaw, the Freedom Camping Act requires us to be satisfied that it is necessary in relation to each local authority area proposed for prohibition or restriction of freedom camping for one or more of the following purposes: to protect the area, to protect the health and safety of people who may visit the area, or to protect access to the area. Attachment 5 provides updated assessments for all sites against these criteria, further informed by the consultation feedback. The Freedom Camping Act also requires the Council to determine whether a bylaw made under the Act is the most appropriate way of addressing a perceived problem, whether the proposed bylaw is the most appropriate form of the bylaw, and if there are any Bill of Rights implications. Staff has considered the proposed changes and remain confident that the bylaw is in the most appropriate form and is the best tool available to Council to manage the perceived problems identified with freedom camping. Staff advise that the bylaw may give rise to some implications under the Bill of Rights Act, but it is not inconsistent with the Act. As set out in Section 9 of the report, staff consider the imposition of prohibitions and restrictions on freedom camping are fair and reasonably justified to address the identified problems relating to freedom camping in Tasman District. Shannon and I are here to answer any questions you may have as you deliberate. Thank you.
Anything extra, Shannon, just now? No. I saw you reaching for the mic. I thought you... But thank you, Amy. It's a very good summary leading us in there. And I've got to say that the presentation of the material is very, very good. Like to have the summaries of issues and the ways that the submissions are presented in a range of ways is you serve us very well in presenting the information in that way, because there's a lot to take in, of course. Can I just kick off with a question in response to Mr. Schaffner's submission around the fines if the bylaw was revoked and whether we've collected fines illegally.
Sure. So I'll start, and Shannon might have something further to add, but those infringement notices are issued under a certain section of the legislation, which also enables our enforcement officers to infringe for infringements under the Act. So they're not, they didn't break any bylaw rules, they were breaking rules under the Act itself. So for example, freedom camping in a non-self-contained vehicle would be a breach of the Act, whether we had a bylaw in place or not.
Okay, and we're confident that each of these infringement notices that were in the schedule that Mr. Schaffner attached or has at the bottom of his submission, that will be the case for all of those, that they would come under the Act.
Yes, that's right. All the infringements issued from those timeframes were breaches of the Act, not of a bylaw that was in place at the time, or not in place at the time.
And they were issued in that vein.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. And we're confident about that, obviously. Yeah. I just wonder about the way to go ahead now, was whether we I was just thinking of the area in the report that looks at specific areas, or maybe just I'll come to you, Councillor Walker, and just see what you want to bring forward or question or make comment on, if there are particular areas or sites or a general commentary.
Thank you for that. And I guess I have to take the staff's word about whether it was done under the Act or the bylaw when it comes to what Mr. Schaffner has put forward. But I'd quite like to see some evidence around what that actually looks like, to make sure that we are looking through the same lens myself. But going back to the general submissions, you know, there was obviously quite an appetite, 58 submissions, and we were hit with some pretty gnarly weather through the time where people were having to protect themselves, let alone look at what we were doing to protect our beautiful areas that we live in. I want to acknowledge that, you know, in a lot of places signage is ignored. And I do know that there are some submitters who really are keen to get more signage. And I'm not so sure that, you know, how we justify putting signs up when they clearly get burnt or trashed or removed. So that, you know, is kind of a bit of a concern around how do we get our messaging out, even post what the decisions are made when this comes back to full council. Obviously, there's some dialogue around some antisocial behaviour. Humans will be humans, and regardless of where we allow them to park, they will be who they are. And unfortunately, we don't have a piece of legislation that mandates what people's behaviour is. We do have the ability to then choose where we would like to collate them and park them. And I acknowledge that, you know, homeless isn't covered in this, and it was great that that was clearly stated by one of our submitters again today. I do look at the economic impact for our community, and, you know, it is a little bit challenging when you think we're proposing something, although I see that Staple Street has been removed. So that's a good thing for our top 10. And, you know, for me who live in Motueka, it is very challenging when we run any event that we just don't have enough accommodation. And when we do have accommodation, that we allow other people to park and not pay towards it. So that, you know, economically, that's a challenge for our community. And I guess my last comments are around, you know, when you look at the submissions, there's a lot in there about providing more facilities. Well, facilities come at a big cost. The cheapest cost is actually the capital to build a facility, but the operational costs going on to maintain it and keep those open, they come at a cost. And I sit here grappling with, you know, where we sit with our rates. And I'd hate to think that this bylaw created more costs to a wider group who don't actually use the freedom camping areas. So yeah, thank you for the dialogue. Thank you for the work that you've done. Thank you to our community who have actually given us some feedback. And I'm not too sure, but I think we probably need to go through, unless there's something glaringly sticking out, whether we need to go through every line item in the resolution, or if it's a given that we're happy with what's up there and correcting the typos and all those kind of things, Chair.
Yeah, I don't think it's a given, but you know, obviously any one of us can move the resolution or move it in part. But if it's helpful for you to go through each, are you suggesting it's helpful to go through each sort of statement to make sure that we're understanding what that's saying? Like, would there be aspects of the resolution you'd like some clarification on? They do get a bit complicated, don't they, when you look at it as a whole? But maybe, do you want to sit with that, and I'll just see what Councillor Kinmont's coming with? Is that okay? Yeah. And maybe just let us know if there's, just if there's any extra clarification needed about any of the aspects of the resolution. Councillor Kinnemont.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Amy and Shannon, well done. There's obviously a lot of work going on behind the scenes here. Has there anything that's been produced today in the public hearings that would make you want to change any of the resolutions you got up there? I'm thinking of Staple Street.
Thank you for your question. No, there isn't anything we'd like to change. So we're proposing that Staple Street is added as a prohibited area to protect the area, which I think aligns with the submission and the speaker that we heard from earlier. They didn't wish to see freedom camping at Staple Street.
And the submitter also mentioned about signage and liaising with DOC. Is that also on your radar?
Yeah, the signage is on our radar. It's something we have budgeted for this process as well. So it's in our budgets to do some signage up for the new bylaw if it's adopted as well. And we do liaise with the DOC office in Motueka already, and work with them closely on places like the sand spit as well. So we're happy to keep doing that.
That's great. Thank you.
It's a storied business, isn't it? Freedom camping in New Zealand, and I think we've come out of that World Cup, Rugby World Cup that got it going. That's right, isn't it? And all those wonderful rugby fans tripping around our country in camper vans and being invited to park up where they like and have a cup of tea and a sleep and head on down to Dunedin maybe. And it's interesting the sort of phases and stages that we've gone through around it, and it does come up against there are a range of views obviously, but that business around Kiwis used to do this. They open the boot, throw in the tent and a spade, and off we'd go and camp in all sorts of amazing places around the countryside. And I know that the limitations that come in around this that impinge on that, what's perceived by some as being a legacy right. That's an important thing. There are others, of course, who and why would we? How many countries in the world can you just truck around and turn up and there's going to be a spot allocated for you? You can park up there for nothing. It's an unusual thing, isn't it? It sort of goes against my personal sensibilities, I think, particularly in light of our declining campgrounds and backpackers and things. And a point that's been made in each time we've looked at freedom camping, the business of councils actually owning camping grounds and then providing free areas for people to camp. But I think in this case, the new national direction is a game changer in terms of the default, and I think that non-self-contained vehicles is a really, really low bar in my view to be anywhere really. And then once you start, it's often said, well, why don't we just charge them a couple of bucks? You can't do that. That goes against the Act. Why don't we put in some toilets and a nice shower and, or that'd be a camping ground. So it's a tricky area, and to land on a balance takes a bit of skill. So I really appreciate how thoughtful you've been in assessing the submissions that have come in and presenting them the way you have to us. I think the adjustments that we're looking at in the resolution, which I support, particularly in terms of taupata point, so that's an area I'm familiar with, and I think that's a very good move actually, and that also has an impact, when there's 40 vehicles parked up there or however many, has an impact on those camping grounds that are out that way. But largely it's, the bird life that's really significant there, that's we're affording some protection to disturbance there. And Staple Street I'm not so familiar with, but interesting the point raised around the designation of the land between the areas, and that is the dock areas there. So that's a thing to consider, I think, in terms of when it comes to operational side around signage. And George Key including that as well. So I don't know if you wanted to speak to that at all, Councillor Walker, or you have a support for that. But there seem to be very good reasons in each of those cases for including, and I accept the staff advice that we don't need to consult further on the including them into the prohibited areas. How do we think about that? So I don't have any extra questions. I think, you know, in my view, I'd like, you know, as things are sort of shifting and changing over the decades, really. I mean, my personal view is I'd like to see it sort of. I'd like to see councils not be supporting people to come and park up for free. I think they'll come to New Zealand anyway. But I think this is a stage on the way. We'll see in the review in the years to come about where the appetite is really from communities. If there's nothing further, it leaves for one of us to move the resolution or some part of it.
Through you, Chair, I'm happy to move the resolution as it's presented to us today.
Thank you. Councillor Kinmont.
And I'm happy to second.
Thank you. Is there anything from you, Kim, that you'd like to add?
Just a final statement, just again to, as it did earlier on with the public places and alcohol bylaw, the team have really shown a great degree of sort of quite fine-tuned understanding of the region and the work that's been done here, not only initially to put the first draft out there, has been supplemented by the finessing that we've actually seen today, coming back and picking out the eyes of some of the key points that you've taken in submission. So I just sort of want to reinforce the work that's been done with the strategy team, working very closely with the regulatory team to make a viable set of proposals to take forward to council. So just a well done to the staff involved.
Anything finally from you, Amy or Shannon? I'm just left with, you know, Dave Richards and Out the Coast and that whole scene out there. It's like in terms of operation and enforcement, you know, trying to manage that whole scene is really complicated and difficult. It is literally remote, and I know at times there are, you know, some bigger crowds of people heading out there, and I don't quite know how we manage that, but I know Shane and Shannon, I know you've been in touch with the landowners out there and you've been out and visited the sites, and I appreciate the good relationships there and trying to work something out together to limit the impacts on the environment out there, I think. And yeah. Well, with that, I'll put the resolution. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Councillor Kinnemont, could you give us a thumbs up or a no or a...
Sorry, aye.
Thank you. Those against carried. Thank you very much. I appreciate very much all the work that's gone into this. There's a lot behind in the background. And, thank you on the flight deck. Very good. And Robin, good to have you in the room with us too. Just keeping an eye. I'll close with karakia. He karakia tātou. Kia hiki te kōrero, kia wātia, kia mama te manawa o te tangata. Kia u ke te ara mō tātou e ora nei. Ko rongo, ki runga, kia tina, hui e, tae kia. Thank you, everybody.